celluloid, and we're turning it into music and podcast for you.
Welcome everybody to another episode of We Came From Celluloid. I am Nicky P here as always with the man trapped behind steel bars, Mr. Brian Pritchard, otherwise known as the man in the Michael Bolton shirt. How are we doing today, buddy?
Yeah, no, you spoiler alert, bro. Yeah, no, how could I be bad whilst wearing my Michael Bolton tour t-shirt? Proudly. No, I reached for it today. I hadn't worn it in a while. I was like, oh, I think I bought that when I was wearing XLs, and I've drifted a little bit more towards the 2X again and been trying to keep it at bay. So, I mean, wearing my XL shirt just helps even serve as a reminder, It's like, if you want to wear this Michael Bolton shirt, you got to stay disciplined. So, it's one of the many ways, one of the many gifts, I suppose, that Mr. Bolton gives to us all, but me in particular today. Thank you for asking. I'm well.
He's one of those artists that, like, I definitely forget sometimes how much I enjoy their work from that era. The 90s adult contemporary scene is just something that's super, super interesting, I guess, in the way that it has affected and stayed with my life for the length of time that it has. Like, I always bring up the song Babe by Styx, and it's because of its association with, like, 90s adult contemporary radio. It was just one of those songs that they'd play, like, every evening around, like, 8-9 o'clock to kind of chill you out for that radio vibe. Now, I realize this is something that anyone who is a kid is never going to understand about how terrestrial radio used to work and the rhythms of the world. But, to me, that song just always has this, like, real calming, chilling, it's a real calming effect. It chills me out almost immediately because of it's what I used to listen to on my clock radio when I was like 7 or 8 years old, trying to go to sleep at night. Like, I very distinctly remember these. It's summer, it's 9 o'clock, and it's still, like, light out because it doesn't get dark that early. In the very, very specific memories for me. It's a good song aside from that, but the memory is really what the nostalgia is palpable.
Well, what I was thinking of too was with Bolton, and he's not certainly alone, but he's the strongest example I can think of. As a child, you hear some of these biblical stories, one of which is Samson and Delilah, and the story of the great Samson whose power lived in his hair, and Bolton always, in the last few years, sure, he cut it, but like Alex Trebek's mustache, you know what I mean? Like, there's people that have these sort of totemic items attached to them that seem to be the source of their power. And for Bolton, that hair was doing a lot of the heavy lifting for many years.
Oh, without question. And it's like, you said biblical referencing, but he's gonna do the Samson reference. He's gonna. And I think what's more important though is that, like, he proved himself to not be Samson in that when he did cut it. He came back after a 20-year hiatus with Lonely Island doing Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, dude. Yep.
He had that Valentine's Day special on Netflix, the same kind of time period.
The birthday song. He I don't know if you're aware of this, if it's that universally known, but he has a thing where, I could hook up a thing where it's going like, he sings a "Today is your birthday, happy birthday. It's the very best day of the year." And then it's personalized where he goes, "Oh, Nicky, it's been well worth the wait." It's
I feel like I remember that being in my recesses somewhere, but I don't really remember it.
Yeah, and it definitely in our household, for the pets, for the humans, Like every time I think of that song. In fact, the one that I hear is for my cat, who I'm looking at over there. I hear Michael Bolton going, "Oh, Judith, it's been well worth the wait."
Do you at all recall the Hall Oates hotline from back in the day?
Yes. It was somewhere in my 20s, probably. I mean, I was definitely already working as a recruiter where I was on the phones all day. So yeah, absolutely. Somebody hipping me to that. Yes, that was very cool.
Like, no matter where you are in the world, you can always get a little Hall Oates. And more importantly, the fact that they kept that running as long as they did was impressive to me. Like that they just nobody just ever took it down when like like phones became a thing that they like they paid to maintain it for decades after, like, who really cares about Hall Oates in that respect?
Is it gone now for sure? Is it definitely gone, or could it still be there?
I know. I'm pretty sure it still exists.
I hope so. I should Google that in the background. But no, just related. While we're still on the Bolton topic, the a less upbeat piece of the puzzle was, I did go to see him perform, and it was another situation where you're going like, oh shoot, like he is now officially like past his prime, right? That he had his signature voice, but it wasn't at like half capacity the way when I went to see like Phil Collins on the last Domino Genesis tour. That was my only time seeing him perform live, and you sort of go like, not that I regret going or anything, but it's like, yeah, objectively, I almost feel like I've still never seen him because that wasn't, a full-blown performance. Michael Bolton, his voice sounded pretty strong still. Like a lot of the old timers, they start kind of leaning on their backup singers a little bit to fill it out and not sound as frail. But it was more the way he was moving, right? That like he he had old man frailty in his body in the way that, I know this is jumping around a bit, but like if you watch The Irishman and they did all the de-aging stuff for Robert De Niro, but he was still like an 80-year-old man. So in the scenes where they've made him look like a 40-year-old and he's like running up and down a flight of stairs or whatever, it's like there's a gingerness in his movement, specifically the scene where there's a guy on the ground and he's like supposed to be like kicking him. Like he does that in Goodfellas and he looks tough and scary. You can see it in this and you sort of go like, that's an 80-year-old man who doesn't want to hurt his foot. And yeah, Michael Bolton had that same vibe on stage where it was like, oh no, like he's stepping out carefully. He's not doing a power stance. He's not, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I've made it a point to not go and see certain artists because I didn't want to have to see that. Like Hall Oates, I had the chance to see, and I chose not to because I could tell from the internet where Daryl's voice was going, and it would be really tough to watch that as a vocalist. Like to see One of Your Heroes, kind of. I got lucky in that, like,
be confronted with obsolescence in that way is tough.
well, I mean, even over the 10 years that we've done this band, my voice has changed drastically. Like I can't hit the notes easily, like some of our earlier stuff. Like I've kind of rewrote things, and I think it's been for the better in a lot of cases. But it's a reality that I just can't hit them.
We're doing the half step for Dome, right? For Brian.
Oh, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. Like for my voice, like I'm talking wildly. Like
No, I'm not saying you need it. I'm just acknowledging another way that I'm recognizing that yes, for Dome, for our tour, our singer Brian Noel, that we had played around with a full step, and then it kind of messed with everybody's ears too much, so we settled on that half step, but yeah, it helps him.
I got lucky in that I caught Rush directly out of high school. Like my senior year was their Vapor Trails tour, so I kind of caught them at a place where like Geddy's voice was starting to, like he's making conscious decisions. You can tell he's probably like where I am now, where like the voice is still there, but he's choosing which notes to hit and not to hit a little bit more, thoughtfully. Whereas I even listening to the recordings of the R40 tour that everyone, oh, it's Rush 40. Dude, this even the recordings are terrible of that. Like, I would have hated to watch, Geddy be that guy on stage.
50's the one they're on now, isn't it?
I think that's where they're at now, and they're touring with that girl. Once again, it's weird.
Yeah, honestly, the clip that I saw sounded great. You know what I mean? And I'm not questioning that. I'm sure it's not the same experience it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. But for as much as everything he does starts with that high end, I'm sort of going, dude, I'm shocked you can get through a single fucking note. But maybe that's just because it was naturally his voice in the first place, But
Well, no, that's exactly. He does have that kind of voice, and the thing is I'm more interested in, like, I don't know that I want to watch Rush without Neil Peart, anyways. Like, to me, he was the lyricist, he was the drummer, and, like, more importantly, he was a genre defining drummer. Like, Neil Peart is Neil Peart.
you know who crushed it, now that I'm thinking about it, for as old as they were, was Air Supply. When I went to see them,
It's very different type of vocals. So it is awesome that they'd be able to keep doing that too. Like, it's such a clean style. It's not that, and I think a lot of it is the difference in, like, that rock belting. That when you can't belt anymore, you don't have that in you. It's tough.
boy, I don't know. I mean, the Air Supply stuff to me, there's a lot of power there. I mean, it's back to what we were talking about the other day. Like,
Power and belting are a little different, though.
okay, yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I think of I think it's Graham. I don't remember actually their two first names, but the one who has the more Fingerprint-esque voice of the two, right? You know what I mean? Uh he definitely projects when he's singing, more so than the other guy. The other guy has a nice voice, you know what I mean, like a harmless voice. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's funny that this has come up multiple times this week, like the conversation where my dad was talking about that. I think, although that was it, maybe even after we were done recording the official one, where we were talking some more about the fingerprints inside voices.
Well, and it's technically a conversation that stems from, like, our time at the gym on Monday, where it's like, you know, I asserted that, like, the fingerprint of a voice is so important. Across genre, doesn't matter. Like, your ability to sound unique and sound like you unassailably is super, super important. Like, one of the criticisms I've always got is, like, I can be very chameleon like with my voice and do a lot of things, but, like, settling into what is my voice sound like when I sing, you know, to me, like, I guess my singing voice is, what I've settled out of the Puma voice, where it's a lot of affectation and it's a lot of me having fun doing silly things with my voice, part voice acting, part singing, and that's, like, what I find the most joy in doing. But that's because, like, a lot of my favorite singers are, like, Steve, I think it's Steve from Stephen Page from Bare Naked Ladies. That's a guy I look up to vocally. Um, you know, I like Neil Diamond a lot, as a vocalist.
Sure. Well, and it's funny, I'm thinking about how.
Just be aware, we're always going to have a life as a sing talk band someday.
No, I'm totally down, I'm thinking about your point about the theatricality of it, and going, to whatever extent I've experimented with what my singing voice is. It's been in more of a karaoke context, right? That I have a harder time singing with confidence and authority if I'm trying to be sincere. Whereas, like, one of my staples in a karaoke environment is, do you know the Thunderball Tom Jones song, the James Bond theme Thunderball?
I'm not familiar with it, but I do love me some Tom Jones.
Yeah, just but like I discovered one day it was like I was as surprised as anybody. It's like I was mostly just trying to like make my friends that were there chuckle with like a real like deep cut kind of curveball. But like I took to it so naturally, right? That I'm going, she always runs while others walk. And I'm like, oh my God, like that feels like natural and like something I can do. Like I'm not hurting my voice. Like it felt good, but like I could only really go there because of feeling funny. Oddly enough, even in the few minutes I was in the car earlier, I don't even watch that show Hacks, but the one younger actress, Hannah Einbinder from it, she was talking about with Conan O'Brien. They were both talking about as it related to acting. Conan was sort of saying like, I could never sit there and like film a serious love scene. Like I couldn't imagine it. He's like, but at the moment that I'm doing it for jokes, then like suddenly it's me and Ryan Reynolds just like, making out in the rain, like, and I'm all in, you know what I'm saying? Like, and she was sort of saying the same thing, going like, yeah, like I had a scene on Hacks where like I was in my bra and underwear, and it's like in my regular life, that's not who I am. Like I'm not trying to be that, the hot, sexy girl or whatever. But my comfort with it is that this scene was a moment that was being played for laughs. The scene was about how poorly this like intimate moment was going. And so like, she's like, yeah, like I didn't, I don't have any memory of being like uncomfortable on the day in the moment in the way that if I was filming a scene, like a love scene, trying to be attractive, trying to be sexy, then like you would have been way more self-conscious about it. And yeah, it's just interesting.
So, do you watch Tom Segura's Bad Thoughts at all?
No, no, I don't know it. I barely know the dude's name. He's a stand-up though, yeah?
Yeah, he's a very, very powerful and wealthy stand-up at this point. I caught him like is completely normal a number of years ago. Yeah, oh, he's stupid money. um, like we're talking like selling out Madison Square Garden. Kevin Hart like size at this point.
So I should know him is part of your point. Yeah, go on, please.
You should probably know who he is. Him and his wife have a gigantic podcast, like the Your Mom's House podcast. It's huge. But I asked because his Bad Thoughts, the show ostensibly the joke part of the joke is it's him wanting to become a real actor. So it's him doing all this sketch comedy stuff, but like it's all real bad. Like I think the opener to season 2 is like he gets a pill where he does all of his all of his the things that make you not do stuff, inhibitions go away. And so he just does whatever he feels like. By the end of it, he's got a gun and he robs the guy with the guard with the money truck at the bank. It's like dancing with him and then shoots the guy and takes the money. Like goes completely off the rails. The scene ends with like him having a huge erection and this giant smile as he's being gunned down by police at the end of it. And he's like Joker dancing the whole time. It's actually a dance sequence. The like absolutely hilarious. But but where I was going with it is that there's a moment in there specifically one of the episodes in the second season where he's doing they brought in the intimacy coordinator and he's supposed to be doing this intimate scene with this actress. He's being a very respectful guy, but because he's a comedian, the intimacy coordinator just hates his guts. And like she's got the earpiece in and she's talking to him, just treating him like complete dog shit. And so like he's just completely screwed. Everything is terrible, and it ends up being like he ends up winning the Oscar for this love scene. And you see the end of it. It's just him on top of this woman bawling his eyes out because of how brutally he's being assaulted and is in your monitors by the woman. And then you find out that like he died of a heart attack during the scene on set, but he won the Oscar for it. Is you just talking about like but this the serious actor comedy thing and like the ways in which all that interact.
Wow, so that's like yeah, a concept for an ongoing series that actually does sound very interesting. And no, what I wanted to echo from that, just because it reminded me of it, was I went back and watched Key and Peele more after I got into Jordan Peele. as a filmmaker, and sort of had that a similar thought where it was like, you're saying that this guy was sort of using this show as a way to like test out his dramatic range, his acting chops. Like, let me see what it's like to be, slide over the hood of the car as the action guy. Like, I felt like watching that, like going back and watching Key and Peele, there were times where there were filmmaking technique things that I'm going, got it. These sketches also gave you the opportunity to test out some of those ideas. Like, I actually remember, I think I still have a VHS copy of a documentary. I don't remember the name. I remember that Dennis Hopper was like the host of it, and that it was about the relationship between commercials, like 30-second ads, and then and filmmaking, and how guys like Tony Scott and Ridley Scott got their start in that space. David Fincher with commercials and music videos, right? That it's like sometimes the short form stuff absolutely can be an opportunity to, or in fact, I've seen even like I'm thinking of the like Wes Anderson has done some great commercial work later in his career where you're going like, yeah, of course, you're getting paid well to do it. But I get the sense that it's like, you're also using this as an opportunity to like try out an idea. Cause I feel like there's been things inside Wes Anderson's commercials that then the technique is deployed in whatever feature he's making next, like it's testing the idea and then like going like, got it. Now that I've got a hang of it, yeah.
You'd rather see that than in like the middle of an actual motion picture. I don't know if you know much about the original movie Spawn from the 90s, John Leguizamo.
The Leguizamo one, I mean, never really was a favorite. I've maybe seen it once. Yeah.
It was not a great movie. I love the character, not a great movie. And in part, it's because the special effects company that they hired to do it did a bunch of wild and ridiculous stuff using the movie as a test reel to like show off what they could do for other other productions. Like they kind of assumed the movie wasn't going to do well, and so they just used it to do whatever wild ideas that they had, basically. And so you get a bunch of stuff that there's no reason for it in the movie. It has no basis in the comics or anything, but like they wanted to do it, so they did. And like at the end of it, the director's left, and I got to make sense of something.
Throughout all of special effects, I mean, that's interesting to hear, anecdotally about the specific intention to be like, yeah, forget it. Let's just use this as a create ourselves a promo reel that we could use. But like at various points along the development of special effects, it's just been interesting to see the way they do or don't affect stuff. I mean, like, I'm thinking about how Jurassic Park to me still holds up. And the way the effects are used and the integration between, what was at the time cutting edge CGI and practical effects, the way Lord of the Rings blended, saying we're using every known technique, old school and new, side by side together. That stuff's really effective. And then I'm thinking of what was man, there's this movie where like they keep going in time to and they accidentally like step on, it had Ben Kingsley in it. It has like the worst effects you've ever seen, and it's like 10 or 15 years after Jurassic Park, where you're sitting there and going like, how is it possible that this could be as bad as it is in terms of the visuals, you know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes it really wrecks it.
As you mentioned that, though, it's like, but I want you to really look at where we're at right now, special effects wise. And their special effects they're too ubiquitous to the point where special effects in movies are worse now than they were in 2008, because all of the special effects companies are overburdened with too many jobs. Like they can't put the stuff out fast enough for Hollywood. They're also being underpaid for it. And so you're getting like movies 20 years later that look crappy because they don't have the people to do it right anymore. Unless you're getting like really special effects driven movies like Avatar. But does any of the Avatar movies look better than they did 20 years ago?
No, well, and it's interesting. So, number one, I guess on that side, and then I did find the name of the movie. But you're right. Like a movie that I think will forever stand out as one of the first times I really clocked like, oh, weird. We've somehow like not only plateaued, but like we're rolling backwards. I enjoyed some of those Ant-Man movies. I'm into the Marvel stuff. It was part 3, Ant-Man Quantumania, that like there's so much of it taking place in the quantum universe, and it's all these alien creatures and stuff like that. And it's like, how does this look so bland and boring compared to 70s Star Wars? You know what I mean? Like, and I appreciated when like Favreau came in to make Mandalorian that there was some recognition of that, that I think people were realizing exactly that. And you have somebody like, Jon Favreau, who at least stepped in and said like, no, we're going to intentionally use things like stop motion. I mean, I went to see that new Star Wars movie. I didn't really like it all that much, but that was from a filmmaking perspective, really, really cool to see. Was like so much practical effects, stop motion stuff being deployed.
Well, you're seeing more and more of it across the board because it's always worked. Practical effects work because practical effects work.
Well, and because I think overall part of the cultural movement towards AI, not just in the arts or any one space. I'm speaking broadly when I say I think the more we move towards artificiality, the more something is kicking in inside us that is hungry for authenticity as a way of balancing that there's I'm noticing how like the resolution for home theater bubble, I feel like has like popped as well, where I don't think we're going to go from 4K to 8K, right? That like VHS to Blu-ray, or excuse me, VHS to DVD to Blu-ray, everybody, including collectors, was still very much on board. I've followed the trend as it escalated to 4K because I'm still a collector at heart. And I want to get the best thing. But I'd say broadly speaking, even amongst collectors, even amongst myself, I bought VHS tapes again in the last year. They're releasing stuff again on VHS in the same way that old formats vinyl has had a resurgence for a long time. But it's wild seeing new releases having a standard new release from a major artist include cassette. You know what I mean? And it's like, what the fuck? Like that's not for pristine sound quality. It's because of perceived authenticity, I think, that comes with nostalgia and the old, doing things the old ways.
And I think there's more deep to, like, we're talking, there are deep cultural things, deep like human things. Like, oh, there's that new movie out, Backrooms, and I had a friend of mine online who went and saw it and said, and this is he's a musician too. He's like, the movie, every scene feels like a song that refuses to resolve. Like, you just, everything you see and feel is just this unresolved thing. And he's like, he made him sick to his stomach to watch it. And I've seen elsewhere, like, one of the things, what makes it so spooky and creepy is that it's playing with the uncanny valley on a global level to watch. And it's a real thing. People, you, inside of you, we picked up this, we fear things that look
Artificial
a little bit
and
too
incorrect
real
and
or
wrong.
unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, something. And so I think that's a lot of what drives the AI panic that we have right now is just that very specific thing, that things are inorganic but work, like they reach us at an animal instinctual level to be afraid of them. And then when you pull that into you know, the like, it's just no. You just get a natural feeling like that towards things. No, I'm the kind of person why I look forward to movies like Backrooms because I like to lean into things that do that to me. But that's because I'm a psychopath that leans into that stuff. You know, and especially for like, you know, yet again another YouTuber who made a movie and made a bunch of money for I guess he made a bunch of money as an outsider in an industry that is in itself failing because it can't make appropriate decisions.
Dude, that I saw some like chart and was so happy for the industry, for movies, for the people that like the chart was that this made like 82 million or something in its opening weekend, which was like by a lot the biggest opening for A24, big opening for a horror movie. Like I'm just so happy across the board. Like that felt like a really shockingly big number for that type of movie.
But here's what you need to also pay attention to going on in that scenario. The weekend before, I believe Companion came, or not Companion, no, Obsession came out,
which I loved.
Well, but here's the key is that the both of those movies were made $100 million weekends, and what movie's in third place? Right behind them. YouTubers are like putting out of work giant mega corporations that like how many millions of like how many hundreds of millions of dollars went into making that Star Wars movie, and a guy who made a movie for a couple $100,000. I think it was like 300 and some $1,000. He ended up making up a couple $100 million in the first weekend on that Obsession. Like that is a return on investment there, folks. Like, and we all know Disney's not going to make back the money that it spent on the Mando and Grogu.
No, but what you get excited about is that like the execs have always been kind of simple in their thinking, right? And as a fan, you observe these things that like a dumb example to me is how they'll sort of take whoever won Best Actor and Best Actress and like let them do like whatever and be like, we're gonna make you a star. It's like it doesn't always work as simply as the way you think it does, or like the way that they sit there and they go like, well, like this guy's like collective box office, like I don't know. Sometimes they're overly simplistic in their thinking, but where I get excited about this is going, well, that's cool. They're not going to know what to do with this data. And so they're going to throw money at amateur filmmakers, and that to me is exciting.
Well, exactly. Exactly, and like that's what I do. Once again, like says is because yes, Hollywood always learns the wrong lesson. Like, oh, hey, we had this one
yeah, that's my point. Exactly.
Superhero movie. So now they pour decades into superhero movies, and then when clearly people are not going to see superhero movies, they're still pouring hundreds of $1 millions into these things. Whereas, yeah, you do hope. It's sad. Like with I think Obsession is the one in particular where you had like one of the art director or something on the movie who's complaining because she made like I want to see like between $6 and $8 grand on the movie and it made hundreds of millions of dollars, and she said, "Well, where's my cut on that?" But it's like, okay, number one, you agreed to what
your cut is leveraging it into an opportunity, considering yourself lucky. Don't be a moron.
Exactly, and instead of doing that, oh, it's this whole industry is broken. There was no guarantee that was going to happen, and it's not your dime that went into leveraging to try and make that happen. Like somebody, yeah, it was a good investment for some people, and you took the job because you needed a job.
Yeah, you felt like that trade of your time for that money was fair. Then it is what it is, right? Yeah, right.
And mind you, you're attached to that now. Your investment is that, oh, I now have a pedigree that like when that next opportunity, like, I can get on a big production and make that money. Like that's like you complain about the writers. How many writers in Hollywood have spent decades writing spec scripts that never get picked up? Like they just write and write and write, and it just never goes anywhere. Like that's kind of how that industry works, sadly.
I don't remember if we talked about the Boondock Saints documentary on here or not, or whether it was on here or in life. But I watched that like something the one morning. I don't remember what led me to just kind of spontaneously press play, but what an amazing documentary that was. just as far as exactly what you're describing. I mean, somebody who manages to get that break and like squanders it to such a wild degree. You know what I mean? That it's just it's horrifying as somebody who's, you know, you wish for these things. Again, I was talking to somebody the other day about how hard it can be to even give yourself permission to be optimistic and hopeful, right? To allow myself to even like fantasize about things going well is scary, you know? And that's a sad thing to admit, you know what I mean? But it's a true thing, right? To say that, to even let myself fantasize about certain things going well is a vulnerability of it not going well, right? And so to see people that actually find themselves in that moment and then their reaction is to go, of course, I always knew I was the best. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's just irritating.
So I think that there's something I don't like the word squandered in the case of that guy, because I think truly with the guy who created Boondock Saints, he held up his personal ethos, and that wasn't what Hollywood was going to take. And it was like, well, you're never going to work in this town again. But to be even as that guy, he still managed to get something made. That's impressive to me, because that is a guy who is a very ostensibly my way or the highway guy, obviously. And he managed to get a movie made in a town that does not like that from anybody. So it's like, yeah, did he squander it? Maybe a little bit, but he lived out who he is. You know, he just happens to kind of be a prick.
The delusional self-belief part, though, that to me didn't make that story unique. I've arrived at that conclusion before, you know, that guy's story, right? Where I go, okay, that can be a piece of the puzzle, where being that kind of like egocentric prick, frankly, can be a means to an end in terms of the likelihood that your thing will break through because you're fighting harder than I am. You know what I'm saying? Like you're willing to sit there and like burn bridges, piss people off, and you're going, I don't care. My shit is special. It is that fucking special that I'm kicking this door open. And like I respect is feels like almost the wrong word, but like there's an acknowledgement certainly of the effectiveness of it that can't be denied. It's sort of undeniable, even if I sort of go like, it can't be the only roadmap. Clearly, it's not the only roadmap, but it seems to be one way that works is for somebody to just be so insanely, delusionally confident that their thing is the most important thing in the world.
I believe the phrase that you're looking for and how you look at it is real, recognize real.
Well, before I forget, dude, A Sound of Thunder, for anybody who's going, you left that tab open. A Sound of Thunder from a filmmaker I really love. Peter Hyams, even as a guy who's experimented with special effects, he made Stay Tuned and Time Cop, which are both beloved effects-driven blockbusters from my youth. I love those movies. A Sound of Thunder from 2005, right, looks like this horrible amateur thing where like, yeah, they have some time travel thing and they go back to like dinosaur times, but you're only allowed to walk on the path when you're in time travel mode. And the one guy like takes a step off of it. And it's that butterfly effect sort of thing where like now when they come back to the regular world, because of that footprint, now there's like half human, half bat like creatures in the modern world that they return to. And like these waves keep coming of like these evolutionary waves. Like the concept, like on paper, I bet it reads well.
It sounds really awesome. I want to watch this movie now.
I know, but they fumbled. The special effects look like the worst kind of like early 90s like computer game special effects, right? And it just wrecks it. It wrecks everything.
what's always fun is to take my 12-year-old, by the way, and like go through and show her the video games from our childhood. It's like, oh my god, you would not believe how much we loved these graphics. Like, these things were cutting edge, and it's like, 8-bit freaking graphics and stuff, 16 bits.
Yeah. Some of it holds up better than others. Some of it is. I definitely, I at one point in my adult life went and bought there's a system called the FC Twin, which is like a generic, plays NES and SNES, those first two console game systems games. And anyway, like, yeah, I went down that nostalgia rabbit hole where I was like, I'd be at the exchange and I'd be like, oh man, Rad Racer, for the like Nintendo. And it's just like, I can't believe I spent hours and hours like playing this. Like it's just the most boring, awful game in the world.
You skitching.
I don't
the
know
game
that.
where you like you're a rollerblader who like grabs a hold of the bumpers of cars to like get going.
Wow.
Yeah, there's some ridiculous things we played back in the 90s, folks. Anyways, that has been, I think, another wonderful entrant into the canon of We Came From Celluloid. You never know what we're going to talk about. We could have been talking about all kinds of, related to the tour type stuff, but instead we just have a random talk about special effects and Michael Bolton. So you never know. It's a grab bag, folks. If you'd like to direct more what we talk about, you can always comment and reach out to us. We may or may not listen, but we'd love to hear the feedback. So head on over to pumarocks.com, add yourself up to the mailing list, and if you're interested in being a guest, you're a touring band or something that wants to get out here in Cleveland, by all means, reach out. Otherwise, I think you should go and have a good day.
And we're turning it into music and podcast for you.